First of all, hello, everyone. Look at all the people on Zoom. I'm so grateful that you all got on here. Obviously, we have a lot to talk about, and
The screen.
your leadership wanted to get ahead of it so we could answer questions because some of us are on a lot of regional calls and just kind of talk about what's going on in our industry. Matt, did you have something planned for the beginning, or you want me to kind of open it up?
No, I got something if you don't mind.
Yep, go for it.
Thanks everybody for hopping in. I'm doing this out of my office because I have a lot of links and a lot of things that we're going to talk about, and I want to be able to pull it up on the screen so that everybody in every location can be able to see. To kind of start off, let me share my screen real quick. To start off, I wanted you all to kind of see what I'm seeing. So we're going to talk about what exactly the NAR announced as far as their settlement. Of course, that announcement was on Friday. That has been emailed out to you. But also, I wanted to kind of go over some of the things that we're seeing in regards to headlines. So I pulled up three different articles. One of the headlines says interest rates to drop, 6% realtor commissions eliminated, expected to help home buyers. We're going to get into this a little bit on whether or not this is truly designed to help home buyers or not. But I want you to see kind of what the general population is seeing right now. Then next one is, let me get rid of this little pop-up. Landmark Settlement breaks up the real estate cartel. I didn't realize we were a cartel. That's interesting. Hey, and also everybody, we can get a little.
Yeah, I
feedback.
need everybody to mute themselves,
Yeah.
if that's okay. Everybody go ahead and mute yourself. If not, I'll mute you for you. I just want to make sure we can hear. We haven't done this big of a Zoom since COVID. And if you were with us during COVID, we had lots of these.
So we're going to we'll unmute at the end and obviously save as much time as needed to be able to answer questions. But then a couple more that I saw was 6% commission buying or selling a home is gone after Realtors Association agrees to seismic settlement. I just found it really interesting that all these news companies, this one's from CNN, one's from Fox News, the other one is from a local news source, but they're all putting their own spin on it instead of telling the truth. So what I wanted to start this meeting out with is the NAR has actually just released a very short little video. It's about 6 minutes long where they discuss the truths behind what the settlement is, and then we're going to get into a discussion on exactly what that means. So I'm going to start with this video. 1 second. Let me get this queued up for us.
So just everybody that's logging on now, just know we're going to save the questions for the end. Okay. So just make sure you're muted yourself.
All right. Hold on. I got to stop sharing and reshare. So
that's okay.
My sound 1 second here.
And then how that will look is we'll do questions at the end and you'll have to raise your hand on Zoom since there's so many people on here.
Kelly, can you see a white screen?
I can.
Now? Okay, perfect. I'm going to start this video. It's about 6 minutes long, so just bear with us.
Hello, I'm Katie Johnson, the Chief Legal Officer of the National Association of Realtors. I'm here to share key details of the settlement agreement that would resolve nationwide claims brought by home sellers concerning the MLS Cooperative Compensation Model Rule. Like all settlements of class action litigation, it is subject to court approval. First, NAR has secured a broad release of liability. The agreement would resolve claims against NAR, over 1 million NAR members, all state, territorial, and local realtor associations, all association-owned MLSs, and all brokerages with an NAR member as a principal that had a residential transaction volume in 2022 of $2 billion or below. In addition, for nearly all brokerages that had a residential transaction volume in 2022 that exceeded $2 billion, and for MLSs not wholly owned by realtor associations, NAR has secured in the agreement a mechanism for them to obtain releases efficiently if they so choose. We fought to include all members in the release, but unfortunately, 2 groups were not included. The release does not include members for any time that they were affiliated with our co-defendant, Home Services of America. The release also does not include employees of the remaining defendants named in the cases covered by this settlement. Turning to the second key term of the settlement, we have agreed to pay $418 million over approximately 4 years to resolve what could have ultimately been a judgment of more than $5 billion. Third, we have agreed to put in place a new MLS rule prohibiting offers of broker compensation on an MLS. The rule change is expected to go into effect in July of this year. This change will not prevent offers of cooperative compensation off an MLS, and it will not prevent sellers from offering buyer concessions on an MLS. For example, concessions for buyer closing costs. Fourth, we have also agreed to enact a new rule that would require MLS participants working with buyers to enter into written agreements with their buyers. This rule change is also expected to go into effect in July of this year. Using buyer brokerage agreements will mandate what we have long encouraged our members to do: enter into written agreements that help consumers understand exactly what services and value will be provided and for how much. The decision to settle was not made lightly. Ultimately, NAR entered into this agreement to avoid protracted litigation, obtain the nationwide releases, and preserve consumer choice. As for next steps, this settlement is subject to court approval, which is expected to take several months or longer. We will continue to keep you updated on the process and on the implementation of new rules. Please also check out competition.realtor. And now I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Katie, thank you for that explanation and for the commitment to our association and those we serve. Throughout our history, we have evolved to adapt to the ever-changing real estate landscape. This settlement represents a pivotal moment for our association and our industry, and I have full confidence in our ability to evolve once more to do what is needed to lead our members for the years to come. There was no perfect option for resolving this litigation. This settlement will bring changes for all of us, and as a fellow member of the National Association of Realtors and a practicing real estate broker, I feel them personally. But I also know this resolution means we can continue to do our jobs. From the start of this litigation, we knew we had a profound obligation to reach a resolution that's best not just for the National Association of Realtors, but for our members and our industry. That's why we worked diligently to reach an agreement that would release as many of our members and industry participants as possible. It was not enough to simply resolve the lawsuits for the association alone. Importantly, this settlement serves American consumers as well. The National Association of Realtors will continue in the same way that it has for 116 years to serve its members, buyers, sellers, and all others involved in the sale of real estate by providing tools, resources, and education that support and advocate for Americans' abilities to freely buy, sell, lease, and transfer real property. Buyers and sellers will continue to have many options when it comes to compensating their brokers, and compensation, of course, will continue to be negotiable. Buyers and sellers will continue to be guided by our members' skill, care, and diligence during the process of buying and selling a home. Together with our CEO, Nakia Wright, and our leadership team, dedicated staff, and the countless volunteer members who work every day to strengthen our association, I will work tirelessly to fulfill this commitment. To support these efforts, I will be creating a new strategic task force composed of experts from both inside and outside of our organization to ensure that we continue to innovate in ways that best meet the emerging needs of our members. I'll leave you with this. Right now, my first priority is to help members understand the settlement and how it will affect their businesses. But we must all continue to work to demonstrate our value as realtors to buyers, sellers, regulators, elected officials, the media, and more. In the days, weeks, and months ahead, we will hold a series of town halls and briefings to provide more information to help you navigate these changes. In closing, I have confidence in our ability to work together to strengthen our association and our industry. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the directly from the NAR, and obviously there was some pretty significant changes that come about with this settlement. Before I get into what was our world before the settlement and what's our world potentially going to look like after the settlement, I did want to note to everybody that the settlement has not been fully approved yet. That's why there's not a lot of information out there. It still has to go through the court system. That could take multiple months. You could see some changes inside of what the original settlement was before everything is final said and done. So I just thought it was important to know, because none of the news articles I've been reading have been talking about the fact that this is the proposed settlement, not the accepted settlement. It's a lot different once it becomes accepted, of course. So what did it look like before Friday's news came out? Well, buyer's compensation was displayed in the MLS, and currently is and will be until July. So, but that was a unilateral compensation, which means it couldn't be changed. And we're going to talk about what that means here in a little bit. Most states, including Kentucky, they only required an agency disclosure to represent a buyer, and that's going to change a little bit. We're going to have exclusive buyers agreements going forward. We could open a door to any buyer if it was convenient to us and them. If you read into the NAR, and we're going to talk about this, you actually have to have a signed agreement before you can even show a home to somebody. And then there was limited discussion on buyers on the services that were provided, from the buyer to represent a buyer. Like what value did we provide during the process? And I think that it's important to note also that part of the reason that these original lawsuits came about was due to and I'm talking on an industry-wide level, a lack of conversations with sellers as well on what exactly the commission covered. The fact that we share commission to every other agent inside of our MLS in order to be able to help them sell the home. So the big changes that have happened, obviously you've heard them, you probably know this, but the number one is co-ops are not allowed in the MLS anymore starting some point in July. We don't even have a date yet. We don't fully understand the mechanism, but we know that that's one of the major changes. We will not have cooperation percentages or flat numbers inside the MLS. Now, as a listing agent, you still can provide that information out to everybody. It just cannot be through the MLS. You cannot put agent friendly. You cannot put that I'm willing to offer you a co-op. You cannot put anything that indicates that a compensation for a buyer's agent is available. However, you could very simply create an email, blast it out to the entire MLS that says I'm offering X% of co-op if you bring a buyer to my property. You could also put it on social media and say that, hey, buyer agent friendly, we are offering a X% or X dollar co-op should you decide to bring a buyer to our listing. So just know you can advertise it. It just cannot be through the MLS. The second biggest thing is buyer agreements. Once they kick this off in July, short of anything changing, exclusive buyer agency is now required in all states for anybody that is an NAR member. What does that mean? Well, you've heard me preach. If you've been part of our company before, you've heard me preach about exclusive buyers agreements for years, right? I don't think anybody's ever heard me has not heard me talk about exclusive buyers agreements. Now they're going to be required. Not only are they going to be required, but they're also going to have to be fillable, meaning that we can't have a standard number in there. We can't just put, for example, 2 or 3% or $2,000 or $3,000. It has to be fillable because it has to state in there that it's a negotiation between the buyer and the buyer's agent. It's also worth noting that reading through the NAR release that whatever you put in there is the maximum amount. So let's just say that you meet with a buyer and you get them to sign the exclusive buyer agreement, the loyalty agreement, and you're going to work with them, and you all reach an agreement that they're going to pay you 2% of whatever the purchase price is. If you come to sell one of my listings and I just happen to be offering a 3% co-op, you cannot take 3%. You cannot take any more than what is listed on your exclusive buyer's agreement. You can come down, you cannot go up. Part of all of this was put in place in an effort to increase transparency behind fees, especially for buyers in particular. So we'll get into the pros and cons of what it accomplished and stuff like that in future meetings. But I did want you all to note those two big changes: no co-ops and exclusive buyers agency agreements. Excuse me, I couldn't talk. Exclusive buyer agency agreements are going to be required. So those are the two major things. A couple of notes that I just wanted to call out real quick, and then we'll just get into general discussion between me and Kelly and kind of cover some stuff. But is Keller Williams covered? Well, as you know, we not only are we part of the NAR, so that helps cover us, but we also have our own settlement that is in the works. So you all know, was about a month ago, Gary Keller came out and announced that we had settled as well. So yes, we are covered. The only people who are not covered by this is anybody that is part of Home Services in America, because they have not settled yet. And then also member-owned brokerages who did more than $2 billion in volume. So just so you know, as long as all these settlements get approved by the courts, we are covered, and we're retroactively covered, meaning that as long as we don't do anything to violate any terms going forward, we don't have to worry about being drug into lawsuits either as individual sales agents, as Keller Williams Elite, Keller Williams Heartland, Keller Williams Madisonville, or as Keller Williams as a whole. So I did want to, because there's a little unclear on who was covered and who isn't. I wanted to make sure everybody knew that. So I have some stuff I'm going to cover as far as what you should be doing now, what's next, things like that. But Kelly, what's your biggest, I guess, takeaway from all of this? Oh, am I frozen or is she frozen? Oh, Kelly, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, my internet is being kind of funny. Okay, you can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, where did you let off? I just completely froze for like a minute.
I covered the big major changes in the co-op and buyers agreements.
Okay.
I've not gotten into what
Okay.
to do today and stuff like that. So I wanted to turn it over to you and just
Okay.
get your general take on everything before we dive into the what to do today.
Yeah, so we stated the problem, the changes. What I want to make sure you all know is, one, we're going to lead you correctly. Two, there's always opportunity in change, right? And what we've got to make sure that we don't do is let fear creep up in our business. Because anytime there's change, there is opportunity. It's going to be up to your mindset and your skill level if you take the opportunity or you choose not to. So we're going to go into how to address all of these issues. But what I want to have a little pep talk with you, because we get to be your leaders every day. And the type of leader that is needed right now is a wartime leader. So because we are this reminds me of COVID and how we led you all through COVID if you were with us. So I'm sorry that my printer just accidentally just started printing out of nowhere. But what I want you all to make sure is that you watch the narrative that you're putting online. You watch the narrative that you're talking to the consumer, because you're the leader in this. And how you react to this is how you're going to react to your business for the next coming months, because this is change. But I will tell you that the people are going to be able to take this opportunity and double down on their business and find commissions are going to be the people with the right mindset that show up and learn the skill. And if you think that this is time not to show up and not to get training and not to get skill right now, then I can promise you that this change will affect your business negatively, because you're going to have to be able to tell the consumer these new requirements. So we're going to go into where we think the opportunities lie, what you all need to do moving forward, and most importantly, what can you do today? But also just know that new stuff is coming out every day. And as soon as we get it, Matt and I and Steve will deliver it to you as fast as possible. That's what we try to do, is to get ahead of this so that you all know the direction and know that we may learn something this week, but next week it may change and we may have to pivot. But this is going to depend on, are you going to show up to learn? We've got some training. Keller Williams is putting out some value squared training, and just make sure you show up right now. If you were surviving during COVID, you know how we had all hands on deck. So by all means, you're on this call, and I want to thank you for taking this time, but just make sure that you don't let fear come into it, because this could be, if you let it, the best thing that ever happens to your business. So Matt, I'll let you continue.
Yep. First of all, I just realized I was pinned up there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to not pin you. So, what do you do now? So, like Kelly said, we're going to update you as we get more information. We'll probably host these meetings, probably at least every other week, maybe even weekly, depending on how fast we get the information. So, stay tuned for more info. But what we know now is first thing that you need to do is start treating your buyers like you treat your sellers. And what do I mean by that is start having consultations with them. So the days of receiving a new lead, whether it's a lead from a friend telling you about somebody that's looking to buy or sell, or an online paid or unpaid lead, we got to start to create the habit of coming from a place of value and actually being consultants again, and sitting down with them and doing a wants and needs consultation, and in particular doing a wants and needs consultation that both helps discover exactly what this buyer needs so that you can find the right house for them. Because keep in mind, the NAR study done earlier this year, 50% of people said the greatest value from any buyer's agent is helping them find a home. It's not all the other stuff. It's literally helping them find a home. But then also a chance for you to be able to articulate your value proposition. And that's something that a lot of us haven't had to work on in a really long time, especially when we're in the heat of the market where it's just how fast can you answer the phone, and you're probably going to end up selling a house, right? But now you will need to actually be able to articulate a value proposition on what sets you apart from every other buyer's agent in the world, and what value can you provide that entitles you to earn the commission, because we are going to have to earn our commissions going forward from buy side. So that
Matt,
involves.
I'm going to stop you for just a second. Just to be clear, y'all, the settlement, as we're reading it, states before you can open a door, you have to have an exclusive buyer agency. So you can't answer the phone and go run and show a house unless something else comes. That's how we're reading it. FYI. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah.
Just
And then also working on your skills from a listing standpoint as well. So we know that the conversation is going to change on the listing side as well. We're gonna start getting asked questions about what is the commission percentage and what is it used for. So a typical conversation, as I could see it playing out in the future, is Mr. and Miss Seller, I charge X percent for putting your house on the market. That includes being able to market the home, as well as prospect for potential buyers for you, as well as handle contract to close and any issues that come up. On top of that, we have the option to provide a cooperating fee to any buyer's agents to help sell your home. I believe that offering a cooperating fee is highly conducive to not only selling your home, but to also getting the best terms for your home. And understand that terms aren't just money. It also has to do with the terms such as contingencies, such as possession, and other things as well. So now I would like to go into the pros and cons of offering a co-op. You can see we actually have two different commission conversations we need to have now. Now I firmly believe, and I mean this in my heart of hearts, that the best scenario for any seller is to offer a co-op fee to other agents, because we know to get the best terms, you got to get the most buyers through the house. And if we limit the buyer pool, then we could potentially limit what could happen in regards to the terms that we get. So we're going to have that conversation and be able to articulate why people should offer a co-op fee. At the same time, we need to understand that if a seller is adamant about not offering a co-op fee, then we don't offer a co-op fee. I mean, we obviously try to overcome the objection, right? But by law, if the seller says we don't offer, I'm not willing to pay any buyer's agent, then by law, we have to honor that. We cannot force anybody to pay a co-op fee. So you have to have a little bit of skill on the listing side. On the buyer side, it goes back to articulating your skill. And I think now would be a really great time to talk about one of the classes that we have coming up. And I have some info on it, so let me share my screen. They're called Value Squared, and they're actually being put together by Keller Williams. And let me get this pulled up for you. Here it is. And it's all, there's 3 different dates for it that are remaining. We are going to make this mandatory, which means you do have to attend one of these sessions. They are online, they're via Zoom, and they do last 4 hours. The first one is on Tuesday, March the 26th. We'll also have these live streaming inside the office, so you can come into the office and attend, or you can watch on your computer, but we'll need some sort of record to show that you have done it. But what this is Gary Keller, Jay Papazon, and Jason Abrams put together a class that is all about how do you articulate your value from a buyer's standpoint. So you can come on to the website. We'll have this emailed out to you. It'll come and look like this, and you get to register here. Again, registration's free, doesn't cost you anything. The date I happen to have pulled up is for March 26th. I'm going to let Jason Abrams tell you a little bit about what this class is and why it's so important.
Hey gang, Jason Abrams coming to you, and I want to talk about a very important topic. That topic is value. Our industry is ever evolving. Today, more than ever, real estate agents must understand not only what their value is, but how to explain that value to a potential client. You see, the challenge of all businesses is that we have to articulate our value before our customer or client ever experiences it. And that's what our course Value Squared is all about. We're going to be covering from top to bottom. What is our value to both buyers and sellers? How is that value explained? How do we build trust with clients during and after and even before the transaction? And most importantly, we're going to talk about cooperative compensation. What are the words that we use around it, and how do we think about our strategies? Friends, Value Squared is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to assess where we are, but more importantly, about planning where we're going. Join us. Click the link below, and it's going to bring up all the dates that we're going to be teaching it. Gary, Jay, and I will be coming you directly from KWRI. We're excited about it. We hope you are too.
So it's not too often that we get to hear from not only Jason Abrams and Jay Papazon and Gary Keller, but all 3 together. So I did want to pull up the dates real quick before we switch subjects. The first one coming up is March 26th. All of these are from 12 to noon, by the way. Then you have one on April 10th and one on April 25th. So please go ahead and look at your calendars, pencil in which one you do plan on attending. Like I said, this will be mandatory. So I would ask everybody to kind of use April 25th as a backup date in case something crazy happens and you can't attend one of the first 2 dates. But this is going to be a high value class where you're going to be able to learn how to articulate the things that we've been talking about so far today. So Kelly, let's jump into predictions. Where do you see this going from here?
So, yeah, and then we'll go into questions. So I've been listening to a lot of podcasts on everybody wants to give their opinion. My prediction is always say opportunities come and change. How we respond to change is going to dictate how well we do. So if you're responding in fear, if you're responding in scarcity, and you let that lead you, then that's what's going to happen to your business. If you respond as optimistic as where can I find my piece of the pie? Where does opportunity, then you're going to be successful. My prediction is we will see a lot of agents exit because they do not want to up their skill, and they focus on lead intake versus going after that. I think that there will be agents who use this opportunity to shortcut us. I think there will be brokerages and agents that are born out of this that offer flat fee buyer representation for $500 to $1,000. And I think that's what you're going to have to compete against. And I think that that is what they're going to articulate out there, because a lot of times in these change markets, those kind of people that attack the integrity and what we do every day will come out of the woodwork. So I want you all to be prepared for that. My second prediction that I have is listing agents will thrive. They will thrive. They will thrive larger than they've ever thrived before. So that is something I think that you've got to learn, is how to get listings, because you own the listing, you own the market, and this is going to make you own it even more. So the people that win the most are probably your strongest listing agents. So you will see people double and triple their business with this change because they will control the lead. So it's very important that you learn the skill in this. And then my third observation is that if we don't start getting this agency today and not act like it's coming in July, then you will lose buyers come July because you don't have it, right? So let's just say you take a buyer on today and they don't buy a house for 6 months. Now you got to go back and have this conversation, and you will legally be showing property without agreement, right? But my fourth prediction is optimistic. I think this is going to make us stronger. I think this is going to make us better. I think this is not going to cause you to drive around like a chicken with your head cut off without committed buyers. And I've been preaching this for 7 years to get buyer agency. And I'm so happy because I think it makes us a little bit more professional, right? Like you can't go use an attorney's time and not pay per hour for that attorney. So this raises our professionalism among the industry, and it's going to be different, but it's going to make you so much stronger. So those are my predictions, Matt.
Yeah,
And Pete,
I
love
agree.
you.
I agree with everything that you said. Especially the people that this is going to impact in terms of business are the ones who are afraid of change. So if you're unwilling to change your practices as they stand today, then there's a decent chance this is going to impact your business. Just fully transparent with you. We know that we think we know what we need to change. I mean, we have a good idea. We're just waiting on the final settlement to decide everything. But to your point, I thought it was really good. Like, don't wait until the change happens. Go ahead and start using exclusive buyer agency agreements now. Couple fold. Number one, you're going to have some buyers you're working with today that maybe have not bought a house come July. And if you don't have that thing signed, you can't work with them anymore. Number two, there is no better training than live application. So the actual practice of using those and learning how to articulate those and understanding the questions that you're going to be asked for the consumer will be more impactful than anything that me and Kelly can tell you. We can tell you the general rules and the scripts and conversations behind it, but you got to learn how to put it into play as well. And then number three, which it makes me really optimistic, is, a few years ago, a bunch of venture capitalist money started coming in to lead agitators. All the online places that basically would sell buyers to other agents. I don't know what that looks like going forward, but the one thing I can tell you is if you're a listing agent, you're going to get a whole lot more sign calls going forward because a lot of those companies aren't going to be able to sell leads at the same way that they used to. Now, I'm sure that our industry will evolve and we will figure out best practices over the course of the next 6 to 18 months. But in the meantime, we're going to teach you everything that we know about the settlement, about the conversations that need to be had on the buyer and seller side, and then what we think are best practices in the moment. So.
Steve, will you give your opinion? Broker Steve.
There we go.
Okay.
I'm right here. I'm actually in the conference room here. I agree with everything y'all say. I've got a different approach on it all. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. So we can't put co-ops in the MLS, but we can put it everywhere else. That's fine. If I work with a seller and they don't want to offer a buyer's compensation, I may not even take that seller because I don't want to spend all my time and money and effort on selling that house when my chances of selling it are going to lower anyway. So, it's still up to you on doing that stuff. The buyer agency stuff, I think is so funny because we have pushed that for so many years and I've pushed it on myself too. And I never have done it. But now we're going to have to do it. So I think it's a great thing. I really do with that's going on there. The only negative stuff I'm hearing right now are actually from the realtors. We've had a few national headlines, but luckily this is America and they'll move on to the next story within a week or two, especially with the election year coming up. So, all that will calm down. But I honestly don't think as long as we don't let it, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. I really don't. I think our business is still going to be good. We just got to kind of change the way we're doing everything. So yeah, I'm not too afraid of it. So.
I know, I agree with you. I just want everybody to not think it's not coming and make sure you're not playing into the narrative and blasting this stuff on social media, because then that's just going to ask for questions with your consumers. So
right,
do you have any more comments before we open it up for questions?
No.
I got Melody's hand up first. So Melody, I'll come to you for the first question.
We'll unmute you.
Okay. Question, will we be getting a new exclusive buyer agency agreement within our brokerage? Because I know that we already have one on file, but I'm assuming that's going to pretty much be obsolete. When are we
Yeah.
looking to get that new file to be released
So,
so we can start going over memorizing, so we can role play or do what we need to do in order to have those conversations?
So we will wait for the boards to come out with what they are having us or statewide. Use the one we have for now. But Steve and Matt and I do not want to update that until we get more things from NAR on exactly what that's supposed to look like, because we're hearing a lot of variation of how it has to be open, yada, yada, yada. And so we need to make sure the correct language is on there. There's no use in making something and then changing it on your consumer. So for now, do that. And then once we know, I promise we will get those out to you like we did the last time. So.
And we already have them built out, and we are in the process of having them reviewed by lawyers. The problem is the lawyers don't have enough information to tell us if it protects us or not. So we will have them out within 24 hours of the final decisions being made as far as knowing what to change on them.
All right, Crystal Blue, you're next.
Okay. Oh, there I am. Sorry. Okay. So, I really don't have any questions like as far as what you guys have gone over. I've taken in a lot of content, read a lot of things, seen different perspectives. Most of them seem to be like super extreme, right? But I don't feel that way about this. But I do have a question. A significant portion of my clients have been VA buyers. And as it relates to that, we know that VA buyers, the VA, they're not allowed to pay for certain compensations, one of them being broker fees. So do you have any advice on that, how you would proceed? Because getting exclusive buyer agreements has always been part of my practice for every client that I work with. And I've never had pushback, but now if it needs to pertain some language as far as compensation, then that's a different conversation. So do you have any ideas or thoughts on that?
Matt, you want to answer that one?
Yeah. So I fully predict wholesale changes across the mortgage industry in relation to this news. As you know, there is a funding fee for VA. So I actually think VA and FHA changes will come first to allow compensation from the buyer agent commission. But as it stands right now, there is no method to be paid. So if they were to flip a switch today, literally, and that's the last article I read heading into this class, like agents couldn't be paid that work with veterans. Obviously, that's counterproductive. And, I know that there's a lot of conversations behind what does it look like. I've heard nothing but theories to this point. But the one consistent thing I've heard is they're going to change the mortgage laws, and VA veterans are going to get involved. And that's most likely going to change to where buyer compensation could happen. Because as it stands right now, there's no way for you to be compensated.
Okay.
I would predict, Crystal, that VA will compensate an agent because they always protect a veteran, and
Yes.
they're going to make sure the veteran is taken care of. So I would see that changes in underwriting.
Okay.
And I think that's
you.
part of the reason they pushed everything out till July, is because there's a lot to work through behind this. Not only does it have to be approved, but there's mechanisms like what you just mentioned that have to be developed.
Okay, thank you. And I have a second question if I can, before you
Absolutely.
move on.
Mhm.
So as part of this development, do we know or anticipate that any of our local boards, such as HCAR, the one that I belong to, will change their requirement for agents to be part or members of NAR
That
in order
changes.
to in order to have MLS access?
That's already changed. So my understanding is effective immediately. You do not have to be a member of NAR to be a member of an MLS. That was specifically mentioned in the lawsuit. My only question on that is, and I'll be honest, I don't have the full answer, so I guess I shouldn't say immediately. I think it's pending settlement approval. But the second that's approved, then you no longer have to be a member of NAR to be a member of the MLS.
Okay, I read it too, but I wasn't sure like if I was interpreting it correctly or
Yeah,
not.
if you read it, it sounds like it's effective immediately.
it does.
However, that whole settlement is contingent upon judge and court approval. So, yeah, I'm gonna say right now we probably need to wait until it's settled out to understand that.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda Long.
Hey, I just have a quick question on the listing side. Will the commission or the percentage, will it stay the same, or do we like view that as the listing agent receiving that whole percentage that we're using now? Or does that adjust to come down and reduce?
So I think it's all in your, however you want to handle it. If you want to take a 6% listing, you can take a 6% listing all day long, right? I think what it is if that seller is wanting to offer cooperating commission, that's going to have to be outside of that. So I think you have to have that in writing of what is that going toward. Like it has to say, is this the listing commission or is this buying commission? And so if you want to take a 6% listing in the means of, this is just going to be the listing, you have to state that on how you represent. Most of my sellers say to me, Kelly, I hope you get all of it, right? So I don't think that they're going to be discouraged to pay that. I think you have to distinguish in there, what is the listing commission and what is the buying commission? So
That's how you do the selling it. Or the-
Kelly, I know like the Owensboro board, we're just waiting on from the attorney. The new listing agreements that are coming out will actually have a section in there saying listing commission,
yep,
co-op commission.
yes,
One will be
Yes.
this, one will be that, and then that's how that comes out.
yes.
Okay.
And almost
All right,
every
thank
board
you.
is having those conversations about making those adjustments, Amanda. I've talked to 3 different boards since Friday, and all of them were talking about how do we change our listing agreements to distinguish exactly what you said.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question?
I think Melody raised her hand.
Will the attorney crack be making, I guess they've kind of answered this, new contracts for us for our listing agreements to have. And then as a seller's agent, I guess we got to clarify to them and what they want. So we're not just, saying, oh, I'm gonna take the whole 6% and then, and explain to them, I guess, and that's part of our job in education as well, is to advise them, hey, you know what? Yes, we can keep the whole 6%. But if we're not really offering anything, it's just going to marinate on the market. Like it's not really going to, a lot of agents are going to still, I think, run. But can we in showing time place the percentage? Or because showing time's not part of the MLS. Now it's access to the MLS, but it's not part of it. It's Zillow owns it really. So, and a lot of agents use it. So how do we maneuver around that so we stay clear? Because like with our board, you have to go in and you have to copy every agent's email into an email. Like there's not a copy all or a paste all or like an easy way to do it. So you could be spending hours to blast that listing out to your, for co-ops, for other agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put it in showing time. That's already been discussed. And you're right, it is not directly, I know it's part of our MLS, but it's a service our MLS kind of participates in. It's not owned by the MLS, which means that yes, we can put it inside showing time. The second part of your question in regards to can we keep the commission? So if we list it for 6%, we say 3% is to cover my fees for selling the house, 3% goes to the buyer agency. That's unknown at this point. They haven't really clarified that. In reading through it, I think that if we're not representing a buyer, I don't know if we can keep that extra 3%. But my guess is over the course of the next month or so, we'll get some clarifying information behind what that looks like.
Anyone else have a question? Steve, chime in if you want to. I can't see you, so.
And if anybody's in the offices watching, if somebody in person has a question, just come up to the computer, unmute, and ask us, and we'll gladly answer.
And there is no dumb question. And we don't know everything. We are just listening. We're on a lot of calls. We're learning as we're going. the biggest thing in this is we want to keep y'all ahead of the game and your mindset right, and not play into the narrative that is online, the doomed, it's doomsday, because it's not. Change is good, and it's going to be all okay. So
We got
I don't
another,
know who
we
Zoom
got another
is.
question, Kelly.
I know, I don't know who Zoom is. I'm going to unmute them. All right, you're whoever is Zoom.
This is Sheila. This is my first time on Zoom. Sorry. Can you
You're
hear
Good.
me?
What's your question?
Yeah.
Okay, this sounds really dumb, but as a newer agent, I've only written 2 listing agreements. I've had numerous buyer's agents. So are you going to be there to support us, like when we're doing this on this different listing agreement we're going to have? Like, is there going to be words? Can I call you guys? Will there be help? Because it sounds a little bit confusing.
Absolutely. We get on the value squared, and you have an awesome broker, and you have Matt, and you have myself. So
Okay.
yes,
Well,
we're there.
that's
But
sad.
yes,
Okay.
just sorry, you're cutting out a little bit.
Sorry, I'm driving to a showing. I'm talking to you in the car. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
No, that was it. As long as you'll be there to help me with this new listing agreement. So
Yes.
thank you so much. It's been very informative. So thank
And
you.
we're also going to put together some training classes, like especially as the new documents get released and or our documents get approved, we'll have training specific to them. So we're not just going to throw you a new document and say, go figure it out. We'll teach you behind it.
Well, thank you for that.
The only ask that we do ask of you all is we love you all so much. We need y'all to show up. So we need y'all to come into the market centers, show up for that. I ask that you be respectful, because this is change, and through change, the leadership team's phones will ring a lot, and we are always there for you. But what we ask of you is to be our partner in this, and please, 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 watch the value squared, come to the trainings, get in there, and please be respectful of the time of that, because we're all learning too, and we got almost 100 of you. So we want to make sure that we make the time, but we're going to make the time by showing up and doing the trainings. So, Charles, I think you were next. Chuck.
Hey, Linda has a question on these buyer agency forms. We've never used them as far as exclusive. Is there a time limit when you sign somebody up for that? Do you put your time limit? Do they tell you, and you just work it out like a negotiable tool? Or how does it work?
Yes. So I'll answer that. So that is what we kind of don't know right now. Normally you sign an exclusive for a year, but what we're trying to figure out, what the last operator call I had was, what are they saying? Are they saying you show one house and you have, exclusive for just that one house? Or do you have an exclusive for 6 months or a year? Or is that like fillable? That's what's kind of up in the air. I mean, how we usually practice the exclusive is we do a year. So, but we will, Matt, unless you've heard different, that was the last thing that was on my operator call.
No, just that, for it to be a legally binding contract, it does have to have a time frame. So you will have to write that in. The real question, to Kelly's point, is I'm assuming there's going to be one-time showing agreements for buyers. It was interesting. We were in a conversation earlier today, and it's like, how do you even host an open house once this rule comes out? So there's a whole lot that we don't know yet, but we'll be sure to pass that along as we find out more information.
I think John is next. Hoggleton, are you there? Sorry, I'm trying to maneuver this Zoom the best I can. Okay, I'm going to go to Kayla. Kayla, you have a question?
Hey there. So some of my questions were already answered with the time frames and things. I'm a newer agent, so it may be a silly question. But I was wondering, like, how does that work, even like working with investors?
It'll be the same thing. They will be
Yep.
exclusive to you. That's why I think it's opportunity for these people not to run you around like crazy and to you to really know what kind of business do you want to have, right? Because they're going to have to pick. So that is interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. I think it protects you as the professional.
Yeah. And I do think that, again, I think that we will have some sort of one-time showing agreements for buyers. Because I know Crystal asked in the comments also, does this impact one-time showing agreements? From a seller side, it doesn't. From a seller side, they're basically asking, are you willing to offer a co-op for me to bring my buyer? From an investor standpoint, I could see the thing. I'll tell you, here's what I know. Our industry is full of a lot of really smart people that are very, very creative. And over the course of the next few months, we're going to hear best practices, and there will be things that come out that will shed a lot of light to the unknowns right now. So again, as we hear that, we'll communicate it. For now, my best guess is that there will be some sort of one-time showing agreement that you could use for your investors if they're unwilling to sign a long-term exclusive buyers agreement.
Yeah,
Thank you.
think a lot of what's going on right now, I know Steve's meeting with the board. I'm on operating calls. We're on leadership calls. We're all just interpreting that NAR settlement and reading it the best we know and adapting as more information kind of comes out from NAR. So, and I will answer this question because I have gotten this and nobody has asked us yet, is do you have to be a member of NAR? Do you have to, what is going to happen to NAR? And I'll let Matt kind of answer that, or Steve. They do a lot for us. They lobby for us. How they settled this agreement, we weren't in that courtroom. I don't know. I mean, I have my opinions, but that's not really up for discussion on that. I think right now we have to continue to just be positive and know that this is going to help us and know that everything's going to work out. It's going to shake out. Yes, that there's threats, but it will shake out because we will have a job at the end of the day. The consumer wants to be represented. The buyer wants to be represented. In the end of this, if we don't represent buyers, they lose, right? Because they overpay for property. They're not represented in inspections. They're not represented in appraisals. We all know what that looks like for a for sale by owner. So just have confidence in what you do for a living and know that it'll shake out. And, don't worry. But you need to level up your skill. But how we do all these things, you got to think there's millions of us, right? There's a way, and this will shake out.
Melody asked the question, what is the concerned with hosting open houses, what is the likelihood that a judge rules against the settlement? I'm going to read specifically from the NAR on this, and it says, there are strong grounds for the court to approve this settlement because it is in the best interest of all parties and class members. We expect the process of court review to take several months or more. In large class action settlements like this one's, objections and opt-outs are common, and the plaintiffs and NAR will handle them as they come. So, will it be exactly as it's outlined right now? Probably not, but it's going to be really close. I do not think the co-op thing goes away, and I don't think the exclusive buyer agency thing goes away. That was two really big points for the plaintiffs in order to settle and cover as many people as the NAR was able to get covered. But I will definitely update y'all as I hear more. And also, I want to also say that we're going to start talking about this. We'll have special meetings, of course, but to start tuning into the Monday market update meetings that we do, market expert meetings at 10:30, because I'm probably going to start touching base on this during that as well. We're going to give you all as many opportunities as you can to both hear what our opinions are as well as ask questions so that we can dive into the answers that we need to find out that we might not have right now.
They asked if dues will go up. We don't know. I mean, they did settle. They're going to have to figure out a way to get that money somehow. I would guess that's how they're going to get the money.
So I have a different opinion, actually. I think they're scared to death to raise dues because we don't have to be members anymore.
Right. So they may eat it. So we don't know.
And the settlement, 418 million, is paid out over 4 years, which is much more manageable than what they were looking at. Because if we're being honest, they settled because they were about to go bankrupt. Like, it is what it is. That's the truth. But the 418 over 4 years, they have the reserves to be able to cover. It's going to put it tight, but I actually personally don't foresee them raising dues out of fear of half the membership leaving.
Yeah. I know that you all are concerned, okay? And we have a right to be that way. But again, remember, it will be fine. Everything will shake out. How we respond to this, do we want to focus on the threats, or do we want to focus on the opportunity that lies in front of us and keep moving forward, right? And so even though that we will have threats in this, it's very important that we do not focus on that. We have optimism. We give it up to the Lord. That's what I always say. And it will shake out how it's supposed to. You were put on this, you were supposed to be doing this career, and you will find a way, we will find a way to represent with integrity and professionalism. And I think this is only going to raise the bar. So.
Yeah. No, I agree. I was just reading through some comments really quick. Will this impact first-time homebuyers? Without a doubt. I think that's what got lost in all of this. I think that it's going to be harder for lower income and first-time homebuyers to own a home in a time when home affordability is near its peak in all of time history. So, and that's why I think, you haven't heard everything, and everything hasn't been definitive yet, because those things are still being considered. So there is chance for change behind that. Let me see here. Crystal, I think you're spot on. I think the foundation of all of this will be the effectiveness of the listing agent and our communication and skills and messaging to our clients. Couldn't agree more. I think that there's going to be, we've always put emphasis on listings inside of our company. And I think now is a time frame to even put even more emphasis on that. I do think we will have ways to get paid through buyers. I don't think that goes away. I think it takes a different conversation and a different skill set and being able to articulate your value, but the listing side's definitely not going anywhere.
John says, I love this. That's why I was giggling. I'm focused on my new hourly rate to show property to buyers who are not pre-approved. So that's why these are the positives. These are the things that are going to help us shake all of this out. So can you be a realtor without being a member of NAR? Yes. But then you don't have ethics. You don't have
you can't be a realtor. You cannot call yourself a realtor if you're not a member of NAR. You're just a real estate agent. There's a big.
But just know you can't make that decision without, as a brokerage, we will make a statement of how we want you all to call yourselves, because Keller Williams does have, they do report to NAR. And we do have ethics, and we want our agents to uphold those. So we'll put out a statement of how to do that. So please don't resign from your NAR stuff or anything like that, because that's in your policy and procedures that you are to be a member of that. And there's reasons behind that, because if not, you would have to have your own attorney draw up your own contracts. And that's not within our policy and procedure guidelines of our brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This has gone over 15 minutes. Please reach out to us, email us. You have our phone numbers. And I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting. And then as soon as we get more information, you saw how fast we put this on the calendar. We will put another meeting as fast as possible. And I'm just so grateful for this company. I'm so grateful that all of y'all got on here, and that you all are also passionate about your careers. So you've got a great leadership team. I'm grateful for the team I have around me and the partnership I have with them. And I have no doubt that you all will be led properly into this new territory. So thank you all.
Hey, real quick, tune in Monday at 10:30. We'll probably have some more updates then during our mastermind on Monday at 10:30. But if anything major gets announced before then, obviously we'll put together a special meeting if needed. So.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
y'all. Bye.